Hi guys, this little video, which probably will be a bit longer than some of the others because there's quite a few little operations to carry out, will show you how to import uh, information received from a surveyor in the form of a DWG file, which is short for drawing file. That's the file extension, commonly created by the software they use. And we're going to show you how we can bring that into Archicad, and one method of creating a uh, site with topography. Okay, now one of the first things you're going to have to do is go to our Moodle site, and I'm hoping if I bring this across, you can see that under the site modeling section on our course Moodle site, you'll find near the bottom there's a little tab or a little kind of file content that says Site Plan Semester 2A, and you should click on that to download it, and it should download to your downloads folder. I'm going to open up my downloads folder, and you can see it there. So basically, I might just maybe copy that to somewhere or drag it somewhere which is more convenient, like my desktop, or you could drag it to somewhere, uh, a project file that you've already got. So I've done that. I'm going to get the middle page out of the way then, and we're going to go back to the Archicad file. Now I'm just using the blank template that you people were provided with. The only difference is that I've already got a kind of sea level datum view here, so I'm going to delete that just to show you what you should do. So this site is going to be created on the sea level datum, and you'll find that my um, file has got the same story settings as yours hopefully should have, and it's this level that we normally create the site information, site data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my organizer, and you can obtain the organizer if you're not sure how to do that by going to the project chooser and saying show the organizer. And I'm going to go up, and then, as we've been telling you already, to get into the view map as soon as possible with your various floors, I'm going to drag a view over here, and then you'll obviously have your ground floor, perhaps even the first floor, um, and that's my sea level datum. I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to go to its settings. Now I'm happy enough to let the name stay as sea level datum. You could change it to site if you want, but it's no big deal. But the main thing I'm going to change is the layer combination. I'm going to make it plan site. If I go through here, the scale should be okay, and if that is something different, I'd advise just change it to site. And with any luck, that should be sufficient for us. So just click OK, and then I'm going to drag that organizer out of the way, and I'm going to make sure in my view map that I'm in my sea level datum. And this is where I want to try and merge and bring in that DWG file. So what I'm going to do is go to File, and it's like a special type of operation. It's a thing called Interoperability, which is a feature of Archicad that allows you to collaborate with people like structural engineers or services engineers who may use software such as Revit or Tekla, and bring in various files. So I'm going to go merge from file, and then this is the one that I had here, which was the site for importing. I'm going to highlight that and go open. And I think you can just click through all this stuff, guys, right? Now, don't worry about this because I'm going to check the size of the import when I bring it in. So I'm going to click merge. I'm going to click there and click through all this stuff. For this one, just click skip all. And hopefully, if you can't see this whenever you bring it in, just go down to this little box in the lower left, which says fit in window, because you might find that yours is really super small, something like what I've got here. But if you then go fit in window, it should let you see it. Now, the next thing that what I would do is check the size of the thing we've brought in, the site. Now this one up the top, the boundary is not a good one to use because you'll notice in the drawings we gave you there's a break line through here because it's a rear site. So I'm going to just check maybe this one along the bottom or the one along the side. So just go to the little measure tool by clicking this icon or clicking or typing the letter M, and then make sure you're snap on to the bottom. And if I go here, it says 22200 in millimeters, which is the same as 22.2 meters. I'm happy with that. So I really shouldn't have to change anything. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select everything and try and put them on a layer that I can remember quite easily. So I'm going to just make sure I'm in the arrow tool, go edit, select all, and you can see they come in a kind of strange layer. So I'm going to just change that to design site boundaries. Don't worry that it's turned off at the moment, just put them on. And some of them haven't got on the first time we did that, so we'll just say okay, do it a second time, and things disappear. That's no problem. What we'll do then is go Control L and bring up the layer dialog box, and if you're on a Mac, go Command L. And what we'll do is temporarily we want to turn on some layers. So the one I want to turn on temporarily, definitely the site boundaries to see the site. But this one, design site mesh existing, that's the layer that I'm going to draw the mesh on. So I'm going to turn that one on as well. Now I'm not going to update it because I just want to turn them on temporarily. So I'm just going to click OK. And there's my kind of base drawing. The next thing to do is to go to your mesh tool, double click it, get the settings dialog open. Make sure it's on this design site mesh existing, which is the layer that we said we would want to draw it on. Grass, green, all ridges smooth, that's okay. This layer, this figure at the top is H600, and I've done that because I want to make sure it's at least a little bit below the lowest level on our surveyor's drawing. And then I think the highest level is 9.8. So I'm saying H600 plus 1 is going to give me 9,600, and I've added a little bit above that to allow me to put on the 9.8 meters. The other thing to check is make sure it's on the correct story, which is sea level datum, or if you've changed this to site level, make sure that's the home story. And then we'll click OK. And then we're going to use a smart Archicad trick, which is the magic wand, where I'm going to press the space bar, go near that, get the blue line and click. And you'll think, well, nothing happened. But if I go up to edit, select all meshes, you'll find that there actually is a mesh there, and hope there's just one of them. And if I keep it selected and right click and say show selection in 3D, and again, if you can't see that, just click the fit in window, and you'll see that we've actually created a 3D site. Okay, let's go back into 2D and basically fit in window again. Now the reason this hasn't happened is because don't forget we've got this plan site. So I have to turn on temporarily all, and we'll make the site mesh layer. Perhaps we will probably make that one visible. I think that might be an idea. So I'll go Control L again, design site mesh existing. I'll go down to plan site, and I'm going to turn that on and say update. I'm not worried about the boundaries, and then we'll just turn on all so we can see the figures and see the contours. Now what we want to do is create these contours, and I'm just going to go into the mesh tool, say edit, select all meshes, of which there should be only one. I'm going to use my space bar and click, and when I do that, make sure you do this thing called no surface fitting. I don't know what it means, but it gives us our contours, and I'm going to do that for all the contours. Now when you do that, if you keep it selected and go right click, show selection 3D, there should be some lines across here now, and that's what we want. So if I go back, I think we've got to now try and put in the levels. So for the corners, you just kind of keep the mesh selected and you go left click, and with the little pop-out menu, make sure you go to the thing in the far right, elevate mesh point, and there's a few very important things here. Make sure you change this to project 0, and don't click apply to all, and then put in the figure which corresponds to that surveyor's figure, which in our case is 9,400 millimeters. Now do that even for the one just below. I know we haven't given that to you, but here that's 9,800. And I think along this boundary you can assume that this is 9,800. And then we go down to this one, 9,800. And I'm just going to do the kind of corners. We're not going to do the contour ends just yet. So this one at the very top up here, again, project 0, but it should be 8,900. And then what we'll do is I'm going to go 8,700. And we'll see what that does. If I click, right click and say show selection 3D, you can see the way things are starting to happen here. The corners have lifted up. That's okay. Go back. And what we have to do now is do some things with the contours. Now this is very kind of tricky. If you got to really take your time with this. So look, let's go through the checks we have to do. Make sure you're in the mesh tool. Make sure you can see the mesh tool up here selected, and make sure it only says one mesh. Then I'm going to pick one of the internal points of one of the contours. I'm going to pick the middle one. I'm going to left click on it, and you get this pop out again, hopefully when you have this Z elevate mesh point. Now look, be very careful because this is where you can make a mistake. So when this middle point has been adjusted, make sure you go to project 0. And because we want to do all these points at the same time, click apply to all. Okay, now that one should be 9,600, so I should change that to 9,600, which is the contour that we're dealing with. Now, hopefully that should have worked, but Archicad has a real problem when it has a node on the boundary, so I have to do these ones separately. Make sure when you do the ones on the boundary that apply to all isn't checked. So I'm going to click 9,600. Now, apply to all is not checked when we're on the boundary. Do the same on this one, 9,600. I'll click OK. Now I'm going to do this one as well by picking the middle one, apply to all, and it should be, if I move this across, if I can move it across, it won't let me. I'm pretty sure this is 9,400, so I'm going to just change that figure. And then I'm going to, sorry, it should be 9,800. My goodness, there you go. 100. And then adjust the boundary points as well. Okay. And then I'll just do the bottom down here. And again, make sure on the boundaries you don't click apply to all. Now I'm just going to do all the others. I'll do one more over here, and then I'll probably pause the recording because it's going to get a bit long. So I'm just going to do this one again, right in the middle, left click, and it's 9,8, so I say 9,800. Apply to all is checked. This one, make sure apply to all is not checked when you're doing the nodes on the boundary, and we go OK. I'm just going to go and do that one, and I'll just show you a quick 3D, and you can see how we're starting to shape and sculpt and kind of mold our site. Now I'm going to pause the video so I can do all the other 4 contours, and then I'll come back to it and show you what it ends up. I'll maybe come back, I'll do 3 more and do this bottom one, and then we'll show you how it finishes up. So guys, I've kind of done most of these contours. I'm just going to show you how it's going. So you can see the only one I've got to do now is this one near the bottom. So if I just go back, and again, like I said, you've always got to check that you have the mesh tool selected and you've done edit select all meshes. There should really only be one selected, because if you haven't done that, you may have created extra meshes. So I have done and followed my own rules, and I'm just about to finish off by this last contour. So again, I'm going to left click in here and make sure that it says apply to all. It's project 0. and then I'm going to tweak and fix the bits on the boundary, the top one, and then the bottom one. Go OK. I'm going to check my 3D, and you can see then that we've got a site that represents pretty well what our surveyor will have given us. So going back in here now, if I click the sea level data, these numbers, I probably don't need them anymore, and I'm happy for them to disappear. So look guys, best of luck with that, and hopefully you can make a good stab or effort at it before we have to come and troubleshoot. And if you don't manage it, don't panic, we'll sort it out for you. Thank you and best